Welcome to another episode of Beyond Doubt, Unleashing Confidence. I'm your host, Nefe Oguntoye, a dedicated life coach whose mission is to empower women to overcome self-doubt and reclaim their worth. Through personalized coaching programs, I help women find their voice, set boundaries, and create the life they deserve. If you'd like to learn more about how I can support you, visit nefewellness.com. Today, we're exploring a topic that is essential for maintaining balance and well-being, setting boundaries in work and life. Boundaries are the invisible lines we draw to protect our time, energy, and personal space. Without them, we risk burnout, resentment, and losing control over our own lives. Setting boundaries isn't about being selfish, it's about self-care. When we create healthy boundaries, we give ourselves the permission to thrive. Today, we'll explore real-life stories, discuss how you can implement boundaries in your own life, and learn from public figures who've had to make difficult decisions to protect their mental health. So let's dive in. Section 1. What are boundaries? Boundaries are essential in defining what we will and won't accept in our lives. They protect our time, energy, and personal space. Boundaries can take many forms, such as physical boundaries, protecting your personal space and privacy. Emotional boundaries, so knowing where your responsibilities end and others begin. Time boundaries, managing how you spend your time and ensuring you have enough for rest and personal growth. And then work-life boundaries. So this is separating work commitments from personal life to avoid burnout. When we set boundaries, we're telling the world what we need in order to show up as our best selves. Without boundaries, we often feel overwhelmed and undervalued. The good news, we have the power to create the balance we need by setting clear, respectful limits. Meaningful question. Where in your life do you feel most overextended or drained? This is often where the boundaries need to be established or reinforced. Section 2. Why boundaries are essential for work-life balance. In today's fast-paced world, it can feel constantly on the go. The lines between work and personal life are often blurred, especially with remote working becoming more common. Many of us struggle to switch off, answering emails during dinner or taking on more than we can handle. But without clear boundaries, we're at risk of burnout. A great example of this comes from Chappell, Roan, a singer whose career recently skyrocketed after 10 years of hard work. While she loves performing, the sudden attention from fans started to impact her personal life. People began stalking her family and her friends and showing up uninvited and invading her private space. Chappell had to set clear boundaries, asking her fans to respect her privacy when she's not on stage. She made it clear, while she loves interacting with her fans during shows, she needed to be treated like a normal person when living her day-to-day life. Her message was simple but powerful. Setting boundaries wasn't about pushing people away, but about maintaining her own mental and emotional well-being. We can learn from Chappell's experience. No matter our job or our situation, we all need time to recharge and protect our personal space. Tip. Create specific times in your day when work stops and personal time begins. Set boundaries by turning off notifications after hours or creating a physical space in your home dedicated to relaxation. Section 3. Real life story. My client Lisa's boundary breakthrough. Setting boundaries can sometimes be uncomfortable, especially with family members, but it's essential for maintaining peace at home. I want to share a story from one of my clients, Lisa, who recently had to set some firm boundaries with her daughter and her daughter's boyfriend. Lisa's daughter had been dating this young man for a while, and at first everything seemed fine, but over time, he began to spend more and more time at Lisa's house, eventually staying there full time. He wasn't contributing to rent, or even even though he was essentially living there. He wasn't helping out with chores or groceries. To make matters worse, he would walk around the house in his boxers, which made Lisa and her other two children feel uncomfortable. After a year of this, Lisa knew she had to take action. She sat her daughter and her boyfriend down and had a difficult but necessary conversation. She explained that if he was going to live in her house, there needed to be some boundaries in place. First, he needed to start paying rent. Second, he needed to help out by contributing to the household, including writing things down that they needed for the shopping list. And third, he needed to wear clothes around the house, something that shouldn't have to be said, but in this case it was. Her daughter was upset. She felt her boyfriend was being treated differently than the rest of the family. Lisa calmly explained that he was being treated differently because she wasn't his mother. As an adult living in her house, he needed to contribute like an adult. It was a hard conversation, but it was necessary to restore balance in Lisa's home. And do you know what happened? Once the boundaries were set, everyone started to respect them, and Lisa's home became a more peaceful place for everyone. Meaningful question. Are there people in your life who are crossing boundaries, but you've been hesitant to address it? Section 4. Boundaries in friendships and social circles. Friendships can be a source of joy and support, but without boundaries, they can also become overwhelming. Sometimes we find ourselves saying yes when we really want to say no, and that can leave us feeling resentful and exhausted. Take the story of Keira Knightley, the acclaimed British actress. Early in her career, Keira often felt pressure to attend every event, answer every call, and be available to everyone around her. She struggled with the expectations placed upon her, especially as her fame grew. But after years of feeling constantly drained, she realised she needed to set boundaries. Keira began saying no more often and creating space for herself to recharge. She also started to communicate her boundaries clearly with her friends, letting them know that she needed time for herself without feeling guilty. Her experience shows that boundaries are essential for maintaining healthy, sustainable relationships. When you set boundaries in friendships, it doesn't mean you're pushing people away. It means you're prioritizing your own well-being so you can show up more fully for the people you care about. Tip. In friendships, learn to recognize when you're overcommitting. Saying no is an act of self-care, not selfishness. Section 5. The consequences of not setting boundaries. What happens when we don't set boundaries? The consequences can be significant, from feeling constantly overwhelmed to experiencing burnout, emotional exhaustion, or even physical health issues. But the signs aren't always dramatic. Often, they show up as small frustrations, feeling drained, overcommitted, or irritated by things that should be enjoyable. Let's look at Leslie Knope, the fictional character from Parks and Recreation. Leslie is known for her enthusiasm and her drive to help everyone around her. But throughout the series, her lack of boundaries becomes a major source of stress. She takes on too much, refuses to ask for help, and always tries to be everything for everyone. While her heart is in the right place, Leslie's constant overcommitment leads to moments of burnout and frustration. Leslie's story is fictional, but it mirrors the reality many of us face when we don't set boundaries. We can't be everything to everyone, and when we try, we lose ourselves in the process. Meaningful question. Are you saying yes to things that don't serve you, leaving little time for yourself? Section 6. Practical tips for setting boundaries. Now that we've discussed the importance of boundaries, let's get practical. Here are a few tips to help you start setting boundaries in your own life. 1. Identify your non-negotiables. What are the things you need in your life to feel balanced? Whether it's time for self-care, quality time with family, or uninterrupted work hours, knowing your non-negotiables is a first step in setting boundaries. 2. Start small. You don't need to set every boundary at once. Start with 1 or 2 small changes. Maybe it's saying no to an extra work project or carving out an hour for yourself each day. Build from there. 3. Communicate clearly. Boundaries only work if they're communicated clearly. Whether it's with family, friends, or co-workers, let people know what your boundaries are. For example, I don't check emails after 6 p.m. or I need time alone this weekend. 4. Use technology to help. Use Do Not Disturb settings on your phone, block out time in your calendar for self-care, and limit the hours you spend on emails or social media. 5. Embrace no without guilt. Saying no is a powerful tool. Remember, you don't need to justify or explain every decision to say no. Simply expressing that you're not available or cannot commit is enough. This is one of the most important steps in establishing and maintaining your boundaries. Section 7. My personal journey to setting boundaries. I want to share a personal story that I think many of you may relate to, especially those of us raised in households where family and community comes first. As the oldest of 4 children in a Nigerian home and the only girl, I was raised to be a nurturer. I was taught to help where possible, to give without question, and to prioritize others' needs before my own. For years, this mindset shaped my life. I genuinely wanted to help people, but over time, it became clear that my kindness was being taken advantage of. I had boyfriends borrow money without paying it back. Friends would borrow things and not return them. I spent hours creating meals for friends who would then flake out on me at the last minute. And every turn, my good intentions were met with disappointment and frustration. But the hardest part was setting boundaries with my parents. Growing up, saying no to my parents was considered to be the height of disrespect. In our culture, you're expected to do as you were told, especially as the eldest. But I realized something important. If I didn't set boundaries, I would lose myself in the process. I had to ask myself, who do I want to respect more, my parents or myself? It was one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make, but I started saying no. No to tasks that I didn't want to do. No to things that didn't align with my goals. And at first, my parents saw it as defiance every time they came to, but over time, they came to respect my decision. Once I set boundaries with the most difficult people in my life, my family, it became easier to apply those same boundaries with everyone else. From then on, I was able to break up with boyfriends who weren't treating me well, and I let go of friendships that were one-sided. I stopped giving so much of myself to people who didn't appreciate or reciprocate the effort. It wasn't easy, but I did it, and if I can do it, so can you. Setting boundaries is not about being selfish. It's about protecting your mental health and your peace. It's about choosing to honor yourself just as much as you honor others. Meaningful question. Where in your life are you giving more than you're receiving? This could be the place where you need to start setting boundaries for your own well-being. Section 8. Doja Cat's example of boundary setting. Similarly, in 2023, Doja Cat, another high-profile artist, had to make a clear distinction between her personal persona and her personal life. Like Chappell Roan, Doja found the line between fan admiration and personal invasion were becoming blurred. While she loved her fans, she realised that constantly being on and available was taking a toll on her mental and emotional well-being. Doja addressed this head-on, asking her fans to understand that she, too, needed space. Like Chappell, Doja's decision wasn't about alienating her supporters, it was about protecting her mental health. She understood that in order to continue thriving in her career, she needed to draw a line and protect her personal time. Doja and Chappell Roan's stories remind us that it's okay to set boundaries, even if some people don't understand them right away. Boundaries are an act of self-love, allowing you to show up more fully in both your personal and professional life. Section 9. Questions to ask yourself when setting boundaries. Setting boundaries isn't always easy, but it is a vital part of self-care and maintaining balance. Here are a few key questions to reflect on as you begin to set or strengthen your boundaries. Number 1. What areas of my life are causing me the most stress or frustration? These are usually areas where your boundaries are weak or non-existent. Number 2. Am I clearly communicating my needs to others, or do I assume they know what my boundaries are? Boundaries only work if they're clearly communicated to those around you. Number 3. Where can I start saying no to protect my time and energy? Is it at work, with family, or in your social circles? Identify one small thing to say no to this week. Number 4. Do I feel guilty about setting boundaries, and if so, why? Recognizing where guilt comes from can help you address it and move forward with confidence. Tip: you don't need to overhaul your life in one go. Start small, set a boundary in one area, and once that feels comfortable, continue expanding it to other parts of your life. Section 10. Recommended resources. Now that we've discussed how to set and maintain boundaries, here are 3 excellent books to help you on your journey. Number 1. Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Twab. This practical guide helps you understand how to set healthy boundaries in all areas of your life, providing real-life strategies for maintaining them. Number 2. Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg McKeown. This book teaches you how to focus on what truly matters, eliminating the non-essential tasks that drain your energy and time. Number 3. Brave Not Perfect by Reshma Suwajani. Reshma's book encourages you to break free from the need for perfection, set boundaries, and protect your personal well-being. Don't forget to check out my resources page at nefewellness.com/resources for free affirmation cards and additional insights to help you reclaim your energy, set boundaries, and build a life that reflects your true values. Summing up, setting boundaries is a fundamental act of self-care. It's about creating space for yourself, protecting your energy, and ensuring that you have the time and mental clarity to live your life in alignment with your values. Whether in work, relationships, or friendships, boundaries allow you to live authentically without feeling overwhelmed or resentful. The real-life examples we've explored today, whether from public figures like Chappell Roan and Doja Cat, or myself and my client Lisa, demonstrate that setting boundaries isn't just necessary, it's empowering. It's a way of taking control of your life, ensuring that you're able to show up fully, both for yourself and for others. As you go about your week, I encourage you to reflect on the areas of your life where boundaries may be weak. Ask yourself, what can I do this week to start setting boundaries that protect my time, energy, and personal space? Remember, you are worthy of living a balanced, fulfilling life that honors your boundaries. Every time you set a limit, you're taking a step towards that life. Thank you for joining me today on Beyond Doubt Unleashing Confidence. I'm your host, Nefe Oguntoye, reminding you that boundaries are not barriers. They're bridges to a healthier, happier, and more balanced life. For more resources and coaching programs to help you thrive, visit nefewellness.com. Until next time, stay confident, stay empowered, and remember, you are worthy of a life that respects your boundaries. Bye.